I woke up during an abduction once, and it was your typical, I was 8 years old. It was your typical, like, I woke up, I felt the metal table under my body. I knew I wasn't wearing anything because it was cold and I could feel it the whole length of my body. I opened my eyes. I was in this, like, your typical white room. Um, I couldn't move anything, but I could move my eyes, and right on this side of me was this smaller table with, like, weird instruments and tools. There was a huge surgical light above me. To this side, there was another surgical table with a little boy who was about the same age as me, and he was unconscious. He was unclothed, and he was just laying there with like a small table of tools next to him. And I brought my vision to my feet, and there was like a doorway inside the room, kind of like an x-ray room, I guess, like a room inside the room that I was in. And 3 grays walked out, and they were speaking, like, in my head, "Why is she awake?" And they came over the bed like this, and then like that I was back in my bed. But I felt like my chest was on fire. It was hurting so bad I could barely breathe. So I woke up, I was like screaming. I was like, I can't breathe. My chest is on fire. I'm like pulling at my clothes. My mom comes running in, and we take off my nightgown, and there's like a 3 to 4 inch scar straight down the center of my chest.
Wow.
And like a massive, like thick pink caterpillar sized scar down my chest. Never had surgery. I've never been, like, I was not scratched. It wasn't a cut. It was a scar. And it felt like it was on fire. And so she's freaking out at this point. She didn't like the alien stuff. She was fine with the ghosts, but she didn't like the alien stuff. And there was no way to explain this one. And I will say, the whole thing with the scar down my chest, I was born with a heart murmur, a heart arrhythmia, and one other thing. I was meant to have open heart surgery as a child, and my parents denied it. They're like, no, something about this is wrong. We're not going to do this. I always thought they fixed whatever was, like, I was supposed to do. I don't think, like, I've had so many people be like, oh, I'm so sorry you went through that. I'm like, I think they saved my life. Like, I think they were helping me.
Hey everyone, real quick before we get into today's episode, a couple quick things. First, I have a free Discord community where anyone can join. It's a place where we can just talk about our experiences, share footage, and just have a good time with a group of like-minded people. If that's something you're interested in, check out the link below. That will notify me and I'll approve you and you'll be a part of the Discord. Next, I have a Patreon that has a couple options. There's a free tier where you get access to some things, or I have a tier that's $5 a month and you get access to episodes early. You also kind of get some bonus things behind the scenes. And yeah, you're going a long way in helping support me to be able to bring better content to everyone. And lastly, you can help support me is I have a merch store where you can check out a bunch of awesome designs, such as my Merkaba Traveler hat. I have t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs. So if that's something you're interested in, that goes directly to helping support me, and hopefully that will help me be able to get better equipment, be able to go to events and talk to new people, share new experiences, and just be able to grow and evolve this channel. So thank you so much for all of your support. And the last free way you can help is drop a like, share this wherever you're watching. Quick note, you can see the full video episodes on YouTube and Spotify. If you're listening on Apple or Amazon, that is audio only. And I definitely recommend going and watching the video episodes because I include a lot of footage if I'm talking to people about Skywatch experiences, or I include graphics to help enhance the story as it's being told. So Thank you so much to everyone, and let's get into today's episode. This is Justin, and welcome back to Beyond the Lights. Today, I'm very excited. I have a guest who has a bunch of amazing experiences that I can't wait to dive into, from ghost experiences to dealing with psychic phenomenon and just a whole range of different things. So please join me in welcoming Emma from Project Beyond. So, Emma, welcome, and how are you doing?
Good. I'm good, Justin. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I'm rarely on this side of the podcast.
Yeah, it's kinda I feel like it's less stressful on that side because 'cause you're just, like, telling your story
Yeah.
instead of, like, keeping the conversation kinda, like, going in a certain direction, but,
Right, right.
I was recently just watching your very first podcast episode, and I was really enjoying how you talked about overcoming fear and different obstacles on your journey. And I'd love to just get into your journey, what you've experienced, and also how you came to talking about fear and how overcoming these can help expand human potential.
Yeah, absolutely. So I never really know where to start with it all. I was born with like everything, all of the crazy psychic things, seeing ghosts, reading minds, moving things with my mind, controlling the weather. I don't even know, just like everything, all the things happened. Oh, astral traveling, like I was constantly out of my body, in
Gotcha.
other places, remote viewing, seeing the future, everything, all of it. And I grew up in a very religious household, so it was very hushed. My mom had these abilities as well, so there was a aspect of like nurturing what I was going through and not being told like, "Oh, it's your imagination," or this or that, like, "Ignore it." So, I think because of that, it just stuck with me for a really, really long time, and but there was still this level um, of being like, people were afraid of me. Like, I was
Gotcha.
the crazy girl who talked to herself, and because I would, like, talk to these spirits or whatever. We were actually kicked out of a church because of it, and because I
Wow.
was possessed by demons and all this crazy stuff. And so there was this big part of my childhood where I just was never believed, and that was really, really hard, and that made me start to fear myself and fear my gifts and fear what I was experiencing, even though my immediate family was, like, trying to nurture it. Society itself was like, "You're weird, you're crazy, you're demonic, you're this and that." And so I just never had anybody to talk to about any of this stuff. And um and it was just like that my whole life. And I had these gifts stayed with me for a really, really long time, well into my 20s. And then I went through a big T trauma event and everything just kind of like went down a notch. And then I went through a second really big trauma event and everything just went done.
Gotcha.
And so I've just been on this journey of like trying to get all of those gifts back because it wasn't till after they're gone. Now I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I used to be able to have access to like this massive dimensional reality as
Mm,
my norm. And now I feel like the only way I can explain it is if I've gone blind. Like you can see a world with color and texture and dimensions and this and that, and then you just like it just goes dark. That's what
yeah.
I felt like in this journey. Um and of course, it wasn't till that happened that I'm like, "Oh my god," like, I had something amazing, but I never had anybody to tell me what it is or what to do with it or this or that. And so I've just been on this journey to get everything back, but as I've been doing that, a lot of that fear has been coming up. And so I've been doing lots of work through that and just really, I mean, there's so many aspects to it because I was never really afraid of my gifts. There were times where like scary things have happened. I've seen some crazy things.
Mm,
I've had crazy things happen to me with like alien abductions and stuff like that. Um, but there was always still a sense of like, this is just me. Like this is okay for me. There's something safe in this, even though I didn't understand it. And um, yeah, that's it. That's
gotcha.
that's my story. So yeah, so then
Yeah,
I started my podcast because I'm like, if I'm on this journey to rediscover these gifts and rediscover like how to reopen them because they're not gone. Like I know they're not gone. I also know I'm not the only person in the world who maybe had gifts as a kid or maybe doesn't have gifts but wants to develop them. Like how can we collectively teach that? And so all the people that I've been talking to on the podcast are people that have gone through similar experiences and or teach spoon bending, mindsight, telekinesis, astral travel, like all of the things. And it's an amazing, amazing journey for me because I'm connecting with so many people and I am finally feeling like, oh my God, like there's actually so many people out there that I can talk to about this stuff. And it's been incredible.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, for like myself, I didn't ever really have these abilities or anything growing up. So, creating my podcast, I've actually been learning about these and been able to like practice and start trying to develop these different skills and things. Cause like for me, I believe this is something that we're all capable of. I'm sure you probably feel a similar kind of way.
Absolutely. Yep.
And yeah, you've had a bunch of amazing guests on your podcast. You've had Ryan Davian, who was the winner of this 2025 Psy Games,
Yep.
Alex Stefan, who does all kinds of different trainings with like Mindsight and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
then also Alan Evans, CEO from Monroe Institute, which I thought that was really cool. I would love to get into. How did you get connected with the Monroe Institute and everything?
So I first heard about the Monroe Institute when I was like 15, 16, maybe. I've always had this really weird obsession with time travel, like obsession since I was really, really little. And um, this is gonna date me, but I remember when we first got a computer and, like, got internet,
Yep.
I was just spending all my time, like, trying to find, like, real stories and accounts of time travel, and, like, these photos and stuff would pop up, and I was obsessed with finding anything about time travel, and the Monroe Institute, I think, popped up somewhere along the lines with, like, MK Ultra. And in that
Mhm.
time, I put them together and like, oh, that they're the same thing. And like, you have to be top secret military agent to be part of the Monroe Institute. And so I kind of just brushed it to the side. And then I was watching YouTube like a year ago and I think it was JK Ultra. I don't know if you've seen her podcast. She does podcasts on YouTube as
I don't think
well.
that one sounds familiar, actually.
She was talking about how she just got back from the Monroe Institute. I'm like, "Wait,
Gotcha.
like, normal people can do this?"
Yeah.
So I deep dove into it, and I was just like, "Oh my god, like, this is available for anybody." And, so I started doing a couple of the online courses, and I'm just like, "This is incredible." I started astral traveling again. I started having lucid dreams again. I was like, "This is the missing piece of whatever it was that I was looking for." So I just like I dove deep and I got in touch with one of their like online WhatsApp groups and just started reaching out to them and booked a residential that I'm yet to do, but in September. And and then I started like then I became an affiliate and I've been doing all of these other online courses with them. And when I was in England, they have the original lab equipment from the Pear Institute in Princeton, which was here in the US. It was shipped to the UK, and they're using it in the Monroe lab over there. It's like a dual Monroe Institute and Weird, WYRD,
Gotcha.
lab. So I was working with Luigi and Kirsty, who are both part of Monroe Institute, and they're doing like psychic practices and like all the stuff is weird, like science-y, like, oh, here, let's put this on your head and see the different measurements of it or whatever. So I was doing that from December until I just moved about 3, 4 weeks ago now. Um, so a few months, and now I'm back in the States, and I was like, I need to interview all of you, and they've just all been absolutely wonderful and loving the podcast, and so it's been amazing just making those connections with everybody.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I haven't been able to go to the Monroe Institute either yet. I really want to. It's a dream of mine to go do one of the retreats out there in Virginia. Um, so you said you were able to start astral traveling again. Did this also help you tap into those other abilities that you have lost since childhood?
So not yet, although I think yes, I'm not developing them quite enough yet. One of my things that I'm discovering in this journey is that these gifts have always been there, and I'm not trusting them, or I'm not trusting that I'm having them. And I'll give you an example. Um, when I would astral travel, my experiences were so profound that like there wasn't a chart to measure it. And I'll give you a story, which if you've watched my podcast, I've shared it there. Um, it was a spring day in Vermont where I grew up. I had my two little kids with me who are adults now. They were babies at the time. I just put them down for an afternoon nap. I was cleaning the house and I was in my bedroom, like sweeping or vacuuming or something, and a white light like opened inside the room. And typically, when I would have out of body experiences and like you close your eyes and you'd see that like sliver of light open. I think in Mindsight, it's a very similar thing. Like you start with the light and it just like that window opens. I think it's the same type of thing. But this was in the bedroom. This wasn't in my Mindsight area. Um, and so this light opens and my eyes are like forced shut. I'm just like, what is happening? So I'm feeling around. I sit down on the bed. I'm taking my fingers and I'm like trying to pry my eyes open. Like, what is like my kid, like, what's happening? And just like that, I'm standing outside in the dark. I can feel every single grain of like sand and dirt under my feet. I was standing on a dirt road. I was somewhere in the mountains and there was a typical Vermont covered bridge in front of me. And I I'm just like, my kids are home alone. Like I'm freaking out. And so I start to just run and I start to run through the bridge. And as I'm going through the bridge, it's like you're walking through mud and I'm just like getting slower and slower and
Mm,
slower. And I get to just the end of it and I can't move anymore. So I put my hands on the railing for stability and I like slide down and I sit down. And this old man, I can hear him walking down the same way that I had just come from. And he walks into the bridge and he sees me and he jumps like he's just seen a ghost, me being the ghost. And he
mm,
gets up. And then he kind of leans in and cocks his head and he's like, "Are you okay?" And in that moment, back in my room, my eyes take a moment to adjust. It feels like I was hungover almost. And
mm.
the first thing I remembered is my hands were burning. They felt like they were on fire. So my eyes came to, I looked down at my hands and they were filled with wooden splinters from holding
Wow.
onto the bridge and like sliding down. So that's a typical experience for me.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So fast forward to like
Yeah.
now, I'm chatting with Luigi and Alan and some of the other people, and I well, specifically, I was talking with Alan Evans because I was doing one of the Monroe meditations, and I was fully in my body, like very awake and aware. And I just kind of had this thought, like it wasn't even a visual. There was no, like, I'm not typically a visual person anyway. It was just like this thought that I was hovering in the Monroe Institute, which I've never been to, in this one room, and, like, and I was describing the room, and I just remember, like, hyper focusing on how hard the floor is, and, like, it seems like a really hard floor, like somebody just put a rug down over, like, a cement floor, and so I messaged Alan, I'm like, "Is there a room at the Monroe Institute like this?" She's like, "Yeah, it's everything that you've explained, like the walls, the windows, the floor, everything." And so I was talking with her and Luigi, and they're like, "That's astral traveling." I'm like, "Well, no, it's not." Because I was in my body over here, and, like, I was fully aware of that, whereas the experiences that I'm so used to were so completely different. Like, there was no I mean, in that bridge, I was in that bridge 100%. Like, there was nothing else. I felt the breeze on my skin. I felt the stones under my feet. Like, it wasn't a visual experience. I was fully there. And so to me, because my past experiences are so massive and grand, all these little experiences that I'm having, I'm like, "Well, that's not it. That's not it. That can't be it." When in
Mm,
actuality, all of these experiences are those things. So what Luigi's been sharing with me is that, like, astral travel, for example, or out of body experiences is like it's a spectrum. So, I mean, you can start with something like I had with imagining the Monroe Institute room to a T. That's an out of body experience, even though I was fully present in in my present body
mm,
here,
gotcha.
all the way to that massive experience that I've had. So it's really been a learning thing for me to trust like that there's a spectrum here and not everything is going to be this big bang.
Mm,
And so that's been I've been learning that my gifts are all still here. They're just different. They're different than what I'm used to, and I would like them to get to the big bang again. But I think there's something in me experiencing this other spectrum of things as well.
gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, actually, now that you say that, like I had a out of body experience. I think it was October 2024, actually. Because I found out about the Monroe Institute, and was on Reddit and actually found someone had posted the gateway tapes, so I was able to download them, and I was practicing them. And I had been practicing them for probably like a year and a half. Me and my best friend used to work together, so we were both trying to have out of bodies. We'd always be talking about it at work. And I ended up having an experience, but it was so profound the first one. Like, I was laying in bed, I had done this meditation, and I got the full body buzzing where it just felt like basically it feels like you're having a seizure minus like a- actually shaking.
Right.
Um so I went through that a couple like cycles that were maybe 10, 15 seconds a piece, and then all of a sudden I could see through my eyelids, and I saw my ceiling fan going, and I was able to just sit up and I floated up out of my body. And I remember because I was learning about all these different people who are practicing, such as Robert Monroe, Tom Campbell, William Buellman. And I remember them talking about when people look back at their body, it freaks them out so bad that they like snap back into their body.
Mhm.
I was had that in my mind. I was like, I am not gonna look at my body. I don't want to mess this up at all. Like I finally
Right.
got it. Um, but yeah, it was just like you said, like it was so hyper real. And I actually ended up in the backyard of my house just by like thinking I wanted to go out there. And we used to have this play set that had a slide on it, and that was in the backyard, even though we had gotten rid of it a couple years ago. But I remember thinking, like, okay, if this slide is like hard plastic, like this is just like real. And I touched it and it was so real. Like everything just felt so real, like it does right now.
Right.
Um, so I had this experience and I was so excited. Went hiking that day. I did a vlog, like documenting what I went through and everything.
Nice.
And then I tried again that night, and then I ended up with a fear block. So I'd love to get into talking about that some more. So I went into my meditation just like I did the night before. I went through the first round of vibrations. So all of a sudden I had gone through that vibration for like one cycle, and then it felt like I got shot out of a cannon or something, like 100 miles an hour, just feet forward. Like the best way I can describe is the little Hot Wheels tracks with the motor with it. When you put the car in, that's what it felt like. I just got shot. And it was the craziest sensation because I had my bed in zero gravity mode and I had my fingers on the sheets. I could feel the sheets sliding under my fingers as I was moving. I couldn't see anything. It was pitch black. But then I ended up in this room with like two other people, and I didn't know what was going on. And there was a door there. So I ended up going through this door and I went into this room filled with like a fog or a mist that was maybe 2 or 3 feet high. And then I saw some gray alien heads, like two of them that were above the fog. And that freaked me out so bad. So,
No.
um, yeah. So I like everything snapped to black at that point, and I knew I was back in my body. Um, I got shot off again, like on, I don't know. For some reason, I have the estimate. It felt like I slid a quarter mile across my sheets. Like that's how far it felt like I went.
Whoa.
Um, and then this second time, I ended up in like a dining room of a house, and it was a house party, and there was all this food, and it looked so good. And I had given up junk food at this point. And the host came over and talked to me, and I'm not sure if she verbally talked or like telepathic communication, but she told me like, welcome, have any of the food, have fun, basically. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna eat one of these fudge dipped Oreos right here because it looks delicious and I haven't had one in a really long time. And I ate it and it tasted just like it. And that was another thing. Like I've never tasted anything in a dream or anything like that. um but yeah, so going through like that extreme movement and then seeing those grays really put a fear block in me. And I heard you say earlier you've had abduction experiences. I'd love to get into that. What have your experiences been with that kind of phenomenon?
So I have many, many, many abductions by the Greys specifically, but I've
Mm,
had um, connections with other beings as well. Uh, the most common with the tall whites. That's what I've always called them. I don't know what other people call them. But with the Greys, I I woke up during an abduction once, and it was your typical I was 8 years old. It was your typical, like, I woke up, I felt the metal table under my body. I knew I wasn't wearing anything 'cause it was cold and I could feel it the whole length of my body. I opened my eyes, I was in this, like, your typical white room. Um, I couldn't move anything, but I could move my eyes, and right on this side of me was this smaller table with like weird instruments and tools. There was a huge surgical light above me. To this side, there was another surgical table with a little boy who was about the same age as me, and he was unconscious. He was unclothed. And he was just laying there with same like a small table of tools next to him. And I brought my vision to my feet, and there was like a doorway inside the room, kind of like an X-ray room, I guess, like a room inside the room that I was in. And 3 grays walked out, and they were speaking, like, in my head, "Why is she awake?" And they came over the bed like this, and then like that, I was back in my bed. But I felt like my chest was on fire. It was hurting so bad I could barely breathe. So I woke up, I was like screaming. I was like, I can't breathe. My chest is on fire. I'm like pulling at my clothes. My mom comes running in, and we take off my nightgown, and there's like a 3 to 4 inch scar straight down the center of my chest.
Wow.
And like a massive, like thick pink caterpillar sized scar down my chest. Um, Never had surgery. I've never been like, I was not scratched. It wasn't a cut, it was a scar, and it felt like it was on fire. And so she's freaking out at this point. She didn't like the alien stuff. She was fine with the ghosts, but she didn't like the alien stuff, and there was no way to explain this one. Um And so within a few days, it like shrunk to a smaller, regular size scar. And then maybe after a few months, it shrunk down to a hairline scar. And it was there for years, well into my teens. And then it vanished and it went away. But I had many other abductions where I'd wake up with like metal bars under my skin, like I could move them around and feel them,
Oh,
and like they would tink,
that's
tink, tink, tink,
strange.
tink, and then in like
Hmm.
2, 3 days they'd be gone. Or like the red graph polka dot things that people see. My son gets those now. There's all sorts of really weird things. But one of the other experiences, actually, I have so many. There's too many. Uh, so that's like the more surgical side of the abductions. And I will say, the whole thing with the scar down my chest, I was born with a heart murmur, a heart arrhythmia, and one other thing. I was meant to have open heart surgery as a child, and my parents denied it. They're like, no, this isn't something about this is wrong. We're not going to do this. I always thought they fixed whatever was like I was supposed to do. I don't think like I've had so many people be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry you went through that." I'm like, I think they saved my life. Like I think they were helping me. It was scary at the time. Like I'm a little girl, but I it was very quickly after that that I'm like, they definitely saved my life. Like they were helping me. Um, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, that's crazy that you said that actually, because my son, when he was born, the day he was born, we found out he had a heart murmur that we didn't know about at all while
Well,
my wife's pregnancy. So we actually had to do open heart surgery with my son when he was 4 months old. And luckily he did amazing. Everything went well. He's 10 now. Everything's great. Um, but yeah, just how it ended up being a positive thing for you, because a lot of people, I feel like they have this scary experience and they don't fully understand what happened to them. So it's just this terrifying thing. Um, so have you experienced anything that you think is like evil or demonic or anything like that? Or has the experience, even if it is scary, have you found out later down the road that it was something that ended up helping you or like just helped you evolve?
so with the aliens, I have not had an evil experience at all. One of the other abductions that I regularly had, which Luigi was just telling me is called the night school, and I never knew that this was even a thing. But I would get abducted, and there would always be this moment of panic. But like I was afraid of them to a point, and I would be abducted and be like, "Oh my god, they're here again. What's going to happen?" And then I would see this line of people lining up in front of a door, and there was always this one person that I would see. I've never met him in real life, but every time I saw this one individual, I was like, "Oh, I know where I am." And like all that fear would just go away, and I would go and I'd get in the line, and then there would be a gray at the door, and they would open the door, and it was a classroom. And so we'd go into this huge classroom, and they were like, never remember what was beyond the door, but I knew it was like a training of some type, and that constantly was happening. Um, I also have a hybrid daughter that I was allowed to meet once. There was no fear around that. There was no like, I'm sure some people might feel, like, violated in that. I never felt any of that. I mean, I don't know what the whole experience was. I don't remember all of it, but that feeling never came up for me. Um, so yeah, I've never with the Greys, I've never had an evil experience. As a child, I was very scared. Like, I was terrified of ET. Terrified.
Mm.
Could not watch ET.
Yeah.
There was that fear, just the I mean, I think anybody comes into your room and takes you out of your bed, like, it doesn't matter what it's for, it's scary. And I always had this knowing of when they would come as well. So it would be this I don't even know really how to explain it. I'd lay in bed and be like, "Oh, they're coming tonight. I know they're coming tonight. It's gonna happen again." And just kind of like this like, "Ugh, not again," type of thing. Or I would always know after it happened, even if like my memory was wiped or whatever, I'd wake up with this just undeniable sense of "Oh, it happened again. It happened last night." And with the Monroe Institute, they talk a lot about clicking out, and
Yeah.
that's like you don't fall asleep and then wake up kind of thing, because when you do that, you have that moment where your eyes are so closed and you're kind of like coming back to it, whereas a click out, you're back and you're wide awake, and there's none of that like in between waking up stage. It's just out blank to wide awake, and that just it was constantly happening. As far as ghosts and like other entities, I've definitely come across some really dark and awful, evil things. I've been left with bruises and scratches and um, heavy energies and all sorts of stuff, but nothing that like actually deeply hurt me, if that makes sense. Um, and nothing that I wasn't able to just fight off, really. So some very scary experiences, but nothing that overcame me, if that makes any sense.
Gotcha. Okay. Hmm. Because I've been trying to figure out, because I've been learning more about the spiritual and like the afterlife and spirits and everything like that through this process. And I kind of felt like the phenomenon with the orbs kind of feels connected to the spirit world, maybe. I'm not
Mhm.
really sure. But what's your view of like these different things? Like, do you have any guess as to what the aliens are doing, or like what our reality like truly is? Do you have any theories or anything like that?
I think in my experience, and I'm sure some people have had different experiences, my experience with the aliens, it felt like I was being prepped for something big, something bigger than myself. Whether it's something that's gonna happen in this reality, and then everything will kind of be, like, unlocked in my brain, I don't know. If it's prepping me for a different lifetime or a different reality, that could be something as well. Maybe it's a continuation of lifetimes, because I know I've had many lifetimes where I was not human, like, not of Earth, and so maybe it's like a continuation of learning things, I don't know, I don't really know. As far as what is this reality, your guess
Gotcha.
is as good as mine.
Yeah, because to me, like the school idea kind of makes a lot of sense. Like we're coming here to learn these very difficult, challenging things, being in this
Mm.
physical reality. Um, and I don't know, it kind of feels like maybe the aliens or whatever are the ones who are kind of running the simulation for us or something like that. I'm not sure. Um, yeah, it's just something really interesting. I'm like just the fact that this is going on, like I never would have believed that any of this would have been the reality I was living in. Like for me, I was very stuck in the materialistic way of life. I was in the Air Force for 6 years and everything. So I just started my spiritual awakening really in August 2023. So this is still pretty new for me and everything. Did you ever have like hypnotic regressions to go into your abduction experiences and remember more or anything like that?
So I am a regressionist.
Mm,
I've been doing that for 15 years now, but I don't often do it on myself. I
gotcha.
do more I have a lot of memories of like different past lives and lifetimes not on this earth, on in other realms, or not just realms, but other planets, like as different alien species. Um but I have not been able to get into that classroom. So I've not really been regressed by a professional to do that though. So maybe one day we'll figure it out. A lot of the times when it would happen, it would start out as a dream where the aliens were like it was kind of like War of the Worlds where like they came down and were attacking and it was this fight like against humans and aliens. But then there would always be this twist where it was like humans and aliens fighting against something else, like maybe other humans and aliens, but it was a two-sided thing, and they were humans and aliens were together on one side. And it would always start out as that, and then a group of people, me included, would be abducted, and then we'd go into this classroom, and who knows from there.
Hmm,
Yeah.
gotcha. So you were able to overcome a lot of those fear blocks, I'm assuming. How were you able to overcome those fear blocks? How were you finally able to remove and move past some of those traumatic things that have happened?
I think for me personally, the fear that trumps those other fears is the fear of not being able to do it. Like, it
Mm,
scares me so much more to just be a mundane, normal human than it
gotcha.
does to have those experiences again. That being said, I've noticed that trying too hard to have those experiences has also been a block as well,
Yes.
and that's been really interesting because it's really about just letting go and going, with the flow kind of thing, and I get so frustrated. I was just talking with my friend Gary, who's a student of Monroe as well, um, and he just keeps reminding me, he's like, "There's all these things that you have to do. That you have to do the meditations, and you have to do the journaling, and you have to do this and that." And I'm like, "But I never had to do any of that before. Like, why do I
Mm,
have to do all the work?" And, like, I've done all the work. I've spent the last 20 years studying with shamans and traveling the world and taking meditation courses and hypnotherapy. Like, I've done everything, and I feel like I'm doing too much, and that's why it's not working. Because 'cause I'm just, like, I'm grasping on to this idea that it has to happen now
yeah.
instead of just being like, "Okay, like, we're just gonna go with the flow of it." But fear is a funny thing because it can come in really interesting ways that are really unexpected. I think, um, yeah, I mean, for me, the fear was not having those experiences again. I think too, because one thing specifically with both the ghosts and aliens that I run into a lot with clients is that they're terrified. They're so scared to have an out of body experience or to go into a deep meditation or to open any psychic abilities or intuition because they don't want to connect with these beings. And I'm always like, "Why? Like, what scares you about a ghost or an alien?" And we've been so conditioned by movies, and specifically all of these movies are horror movies, right? Ghosts and aliens, these are all going to be terrifying things. And so that's the idea that we have of these entities and beings. And so the advice that I give to people is learn. Learn as much as you can, but not from the movies, not from the fear-mongering people, but from real people who have had positive experiences. 'Cause I've been seeing ghosts my whole life, and even the scary ones that I see, they like, I've never the worst that I've had is, like, scratches and bruises, and I was pushed down the stairs when I was little, but I'm alive,
Gee.
I'm fine. And more often than not, the experiences that I have are amazing, absolutely amazing. I've befriended ghosts. I have been protected by ghosts. I mean, just the world that it opens up for you when you understand the different realities that are around us, the different beings that are around us. It opens a whole new world. I think fear just comes from misunderstanding of anything,
Yeah, definitely.
always
Uh,
what it is.
um, is there any like myths about ghosts or spirits that you think people should stop believing, or is there anything that people are misinformed about that you really want to like correct and get out like out into the mainstream?
I think the idea that ghosts are demons or demonic. I know a lot of people that believe that type of thing, or that they're hurtful or harmful. Um, Also that they're trapped. I do believe that there are some ghosts that are trapped, but I think the majority of spirits are here because they choose to still be here. One thing, I was a paranormal investigator for many, many, many years, and it was a huge idea that you go to a haunted location and the ghosts are stuck there and they can't travel anywhere else. And so you go to this place and it's the only place you'll see the ghosts. And I would regularly invite ghosts to visit me at my home because I love a ghost. I love it.
Yeah.
If you ask my mom, if I do not see a ghost in my house, I am so sad. And so I'd invite them to my house, be like, "Come visit anytime you want," and whatever, and they would. And I would be states away. I mean, I've traveled all over the US specifically, but all over the world, and I'd have spirits from everywhere come to visit me, so they're not trapped. They might be in an area because it has a certain energy that they're used to or that they're holding on to or whatever. But I think the idea that they're trapped and that they're like, I mean, all the horror story stuff, really. I think they're on the plane that when we astral travel, we're on, or something similar, and they have that freedom to move around. Um, but yeah, I've befriended so many ghosts. I think you can get a lot of wisdom and nice little friendships out of some spirits as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting because that's also very similar to me with connecting with the orb phenomenon. I feel like I just go out and I usually it starts with gratitude for myself. So I'll go through everything I'm grateful for in my day and, thank just God for everything I have, the path I'm on. And then I always just invite if there's any intelligence out there that would like to connect, like I'm here. Would love to document and share with everyone if I could. And it's this really fun, like beautiful thing that I've been able to experience. So it really like hurts my heart when people are telling me, like that's demons, you're connecting with demons and all this kind of stuff because I didn't even believe in God up until 2023 and I started seeing the orbs and now it brought me to that belief that there is something greater that we can all tap into. Um, do you think the spirits, because like you're, do you think you're able to? basically have them show up anywhere then? Like you're able to just invite them and it's not gotcha.
Yeah.
Um, do you think they could be like our spirit guides as well? Like they're here to help us on our path?
I think everybody has spirit guides. That one of my beliefs is that. I think the spirits that you would find at like a haunted location, I think it's possible that they could be there to help us in one form or another. I had a train of thought and I've just lost it. Spirit guides. Um, yeah, I don't really know.
Maybe we'll pivot from the paranormal stuff and let's get a little bit more into the psychic stuff. So you interviewed Ryan Dabian and Alex Stefan, which, if people don't know who they are, definitely recommend going and listening to the podcast episodes because I just love what they're doing, how they're being fully transparent, really just trying to teach people that one, these things are possible, and two, you can do them with some effort. Have you been able to do Mindsight or any of the abilities that Alex has been teaching?
I've been able to do the Mindsight, which is
Mm,
really, really exciting. I was practicing for a long time and I couldn't get it. And then Alex has like a whole series of mini reels on his Facebook that teach you like step by step by step. And so I did those through once and I opened my window, my mind window.
wow,
Crazy.
nice.
Um, so I was doing that. I was able to see like completely at everything. It was really, really cool. And my son could do it. And he was like playing, I got video of him playing video games with the blindfold on.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Um, but then we moved and I've tried it again and like my window's gone. So it's definitely something that takes a lot of practice and like consistency. But yeah, that was absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, it's fascinating. I get a lot of skeptics on all the psychic stuff because I posted a clip with me and Ryan Dabian doing flashcards, and people are just like, "Oh, this is so fake. It's not real. It's a magic trick." Um, what do you say to those people? Do you have anything that you could? I mean, I know we're just people on the internet, and we're not here to really change people's mind. But is there anything that really opened up your mind that maybe could help someone else think of maybe this is possible?
The So I've been in this world for a long time and I've been called crazy and a fake and all of the things for a very, very long time. There's nothing that you can say to those people until they're ready. And at that
Gotcha.
point,
Yeah.
it'll just it'll be your regular message that will get through to them. I think just ignoring that stuff is the best thing that we can do at this point. Just not putting energy there. 'Cause they're not ready. They don't have the space to hold any of that information yet. And hopefully they will, and if they will, it will just be your regular message that gets through to them.
Yeah. Um, have you listened to the Telepathy Tapes podcast?
Is that the one with the kids in the hill?
Yes. Yeah.
I did forever ago, years and years ago.
Gotcha.
I don't remember anything other than, like, vaguely what it had to do with like, was it autistic children, I think?
Yes. It
And
was nonverbal autistic children
right.
and they're communicating telepathically, but then they also found out all these different things, such as they have teachers and
Yeah.
angels that they're learning lessons from and everything. Um, do you think that the teachers are maybe like the same thing that you experience? Like spirits basically on the other side teaching like a classroom kind of scenario?
It could be. I think there are endless teachers and guides out there of all different types of beings and entities, angels, aliens, spirits, ancestors, beings we've never seen or dreamed of. I mean, it's an endless, endless universe. I think we have just amazing, wonderful teachers out there of all kinds.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd bring it up because it was really fascinating listening to the kids too, because they were asked, one of the kids was asked, like, "Are you lying?" Like about the telepathy and everything. And the child's response was, "You don't get these kinds of gifts if you lie." And that's something that, like, I've really have been noticing through studying the phenomenon and the psychic abilities is it seems to be when people are really opening up their heart and aligning their mind and heart together. Um, have you experienced, I guess, like that heart awakening as well when you were connecting with any of the phenomenon that you've been connected with?
I will say not consciously, but the 2 traumas that I experienced were things that closed my heart down. So they were
Mm.
like a yeah, like a heartbreak to no extent that I can share. Not like a ended relationship or something like that, like just really, really awful, awful things. But it was something that I felt in my heart. And I really do believe that when that closed, that was a factor in everything else closing. So absolutely, I believe that heart energy, love, joy, that is really connected.
Through my experience, like finding the Monroe Institute and everything, I didn't meditate before any of this. And I feel like that was something that really helped me. Have you found different, uh, I guess, techniques or modalities to get into like these elevated states or things like, or just different ways to go about, like getting into those fears and traumas and like dealing with them so you can release it? Because like for me, meditation, I was able to get in there and kind of work through a lot of things. I feel like in the podcast you were talking about some different types of things. You talked about EMDR therapy, and I wasn't sure what that was, and I'd love to hear more about it.
Yeah, so I'm not certified in EMDR, but I took EMDR as a therapy, and it's eye movement desensitization something release or something like that. I don't remember
Mm.
what it stands for. But it's therapy in where you recall the trauma or experience. It doesn't even have to be a trauma. It can be a money block or a relationship block or whatever. But you do it as your eyes are moving left to right. So it's very similar to like the binaural beats, the hemisync, the sounds in one ear than the other. And what it does is when we go into any type of trauma, whether it's a small trauma or a big trauma, our I hope I explain this right. Our brain shuts down into fight or flight. So that's a one focus path. Instead of using both hemispheres of the brain, we just kind of shut down into one, we freeze. And that's where the trauma gets stuck in, and that's where we get stuck into that loop. So with EMDR or like binaural beats, it gets both hemispheres of the brain activated again, and then it is able to release that trauma. So it's a really amazing type of therapy. I loved it.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds really cool. So you said you're a hypnotic regressionist. Is that, or yeah, how long have you been doing that and how did you get into doing that?
I've been doing it officially for 15 years now. Unofficially, I don't even know. I started a YouTube channel. Like, please don't go look because it's so cringe now, as my son would say. But I started a YouTube channel like 25 years ago, and I was just doing meditations because I suffered insomnia. I've always had insomnia, and I've always had these weird experiences. So I would just make like meditation videos in the middle of the night and post them on YouTube. And I started getting these comments like, "Oh, this is the best hypnotherapy ever. You're such a great hypnotist." And I'm just like, "What?" Like, that's not what I'm doing. This is meditation. What are you talking about? I didn't even know what hypnotherapy was. And I thought it was like stage hypnosis where you make somebody lose their belly button or bark like a dog. And so I was like offended at these comments. And so I just ignored them. Like you ignore the trolls, and they kept coming in like thousands of comments like this hypnotherapy has cured blah blah blah, and this is the best hypnotherapy I've ever blah blah blah. And finally I'm like, okay, like this isn't trolls anymore. This is tens of thousands of comments that I'm getting on my videos. And at the time, like my channel was going really well. And so I'm like, I need to figure out what this is. So I started looking into it. I found out what hypnosis actually is. I went to school for it, and I realized that everything I was doing in my meditations was hypnosis.
Hmm.
I was just
Gotcha.
doing it naturally. And so then I got certified and I got the papers and everything, but I've been doing it naturally. I guess maybe it was a past life gift or something that's spilled out all on its own. And now I'm doing my QHHT course as well, so that will add to everything else. I'm super excited about that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is so it's like when you first heard about it, you were thinking about like stage hypnosis.
Mhm.
I guess can you describe for anyone who isn't like sure what you go through? Like what is a normal session like for you and like what do people normally experience when they go through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So with me, you go into a really relaxed state. I think a lot of people have it in their mind that they click out and that they fall asleep and they don't remember, or that there's a loss of control. And a lot of people are afraid of that. And in hypnosis, that's not what happens. You're fully in control. If you want to open your eyes and say, I'm uncomfortable, get up and leave. Like you have full control of the whole session. And so with hypnosis, obviously it's about building rapport with the person, making them feel safe so that they don't need to get into that state or into that state. And then just guiding them gently. I specialize in past life regression, but I've done everything from quit smoking to lose weight to relationships and just all of it. Um, and then I guide them into an experience, and the experience is led by them. I just kind of open the pathway, like, okay, we're going to look at your body. What did your past life body look like? Start at your feet, work your way up, blah, blah, blah. That way, I'm not putting things into their mind like, oh, are you a dog in this lifetime? And then they're like, oh,
Right.
wait, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's completely led by the person. I'm just the gatekeeper, so to speak. So it's a very relaxed state. Again, they're in complete control. They remember everything. Sometimes people will fall asleep if I'm doing like a healing session where it's not as um like action steps from the other person to do like a past life regression. Healing sessions more just kind of lay back and I'll do the work for that. It's very intuitive led for me. Sometimes people will fall asleep on that, and that's fine because hypnosis, it still gets into your subconscious where it needs to go anyway, so the healing still happens. And then they wake up feeling relaxed and refreshed and ready to go.
Awesome.
Yep.
Have you ever, during a past life regression, gotten information that you've been able to like verify or anything like that? Like someone talks about a past life and then you're able to like, here's this actual person. Have you ever been able to verify any of that stuff?
I've had a few people look up the names that they've come up with
Mm,
in their past life and find that person in the country, in the era. So that's
interesting.
been really cool, but a lot of times they'll kind of go off and do that on their own. Once in a
Mm,
while, they'll report back, but not often.
gotcha. Okay. So you interviewed like a lot of really interesting people from the Monroe Institute and everything. Do you think when we're remote viewing or doing these types of things, is that kind of like a version of, I guess, an out of body experience? And do you think Mindsight could possibly be like a version of an out of body experience as well? Like maybe that's like a localized kind of.
Right. That's an interesting question. Um, I I did originally think that out-of-body experiences and remote viewing were one and the same. I'm still torn. I don't exactly know what is what with that. With the Mindsight stuff, I think there is a level of it that is like an out-of-body type of thing or like a third eye opening type of thing. I had this one experience. This was in the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina. I was camping and we were living in Florida and it was a blue moon. I'm like, I need to go to the Blue Ridge Mountains today. So I packed my son in our tent and we drove 11 hours straight to the Blue Ridge Mountains, set up the tent as the moon was coming up. And I put my crystals and my moon water out. This is back when I was like super hippie. and um and we got all this stuff out and it was super late and I was just like closing my eyes moon bathing and I noticed my son like running in front of me like he was just running around playing and I opened my eyes and he was like it mid step as exactly I had seen him with my eyes closed. So I like close my eyes again and I'm seeing him as if my eyes are open. Like I'm seeing everything. So then I'm looking at the trees and I'm seeing each individual leaf. And this whole time my eyes are closed. I'm like opening and closing, opening and closing. I close my eyes again and then this owl flies out from the trees and I open my
Mm,
eyes just as it's flying over my head. And like that I had an alien experience directly after that as well, but I think that I mean, that is very similar to the Mindsight stuff where you're, like, blindfolded, but you're seeing
mhm.
clear as day. So, I would imagine it's some level of out-of-body experience, but I don't really know. So much of it, like, there's so much unknown, it's so
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, I asked because I was having a conversation with someone who actually came and did demonstrations at our Skywatch. His name's Austin, but we were talking about because he wants to have out of body experiences, but he's doing mind sight and he can see, through a blindfold up to, I think he said 200 feet away, he's been able to actually like see and like know. Yeah. Um, but he really wants to have out of body experiences. So he was asking me about my process to do it. And I was telling him, I was like, it really kind of feels like you're already having a kind of out of body experience because, I mean, you're perceiving outside of your body. You're able to be accurate of what's going on, hundreds of feet away. So, yeah, I wonder if it's just like to bring it back, you were talking about the spectrum of out of bodies. I wonder if that's just like one of the beginning stages, and then you get to like full blown out of body flying all over the place kind of
Right.
thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would make complete sense for it to be like that for sure.
Yeah.
I think the perception stuff as well, like, I watch a lot of Ryan's videos and we chat here and there, and, like, I mean, he can see, like, the Zener cards, like, behind another object, so it's not like he's looking directly at it with his there's still another thing blocking it, so there's a perception thing that's in there as well, I don't know. It's all connected, everything is connected, and it's
Yeah.
interesting to try to figure out how, I don't know if we ever will.
Right. Yeah. I know that's this whole thing. I'm like, I might not ever get answers, but at least it's fun to try to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Um, is there any topic that you're still like hungry to learn or experience that you haven't gotten to yet?
I like that question. Time travel.
Time travel?
I just
There's a
I
lot of interesting time travel stuff coming out lately.
know. I
Yeah.
know. I'm determined that one of these days I will do it. I'll time travel. And I don't mean like out of body because I'm sure I've done that. Maybe that's why I'm so obsessed with it. But like actual time machine or portal or something. Need a
Yeah.
time travel. Yeah, I think that'll always be my biggest obsession. As far as like abilities or experiences. At the moment, the mind sight stuff is really exciting to me. I really want to get that developed like Ryan, like, and Alex and all of them. They're absolutely amazing. Their stories are incredible. Just the level of awareness and understanding that they have of that experience, it's mind-blowing and it's really exciting. So I would love to do more of that.
Yeah, yeah. The Mindsight's really kind of opened me up to more of the psychic stuff too.
Mhm.
It's kind of been like this progression for me. It first started with the orbs in the sky, and then it's like, well, if I can see these things in the sky, why can't a guy see through a blindfold or whatever? Why can't these children talk telepathically or whatever it is?
Yep.
And then like listening to the telepathy tapes, so like Dahlia Burgoyne, do you know Dahlia? Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, just listening to her describe like Lidu's vision, her daughter, of what all this telepathy stuff is and why we're going through this right now. And like her telling her mom she needs to do the mind sight because like the mind sight's cool as it is, but is really prepping us for telepathy, which it's really interesting when you get into learning about all these psychic abilities and how people seem to really start progressing when they're around other people who have the abilities.
Yeah.
So, like for me, it kind of feels like we're on the verge of this massive breakthrough in consciousness. And it's kind of like, I feel like it's going to be like an exponential kind of growth. Like, if Lidu can have a telepathic communication with someone, who then unlocks that ability in someone else who then can spread it. And the mind sight, I mean, we're the same things happening. We're watching Ryan and Alex do mind sight on online, and it's inspiring people to try it. And we're having this mass flux of people realizing that these are real.
Yep.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah, it's just really exciting for
It's
like,
super exciting.
yeah, because there's so much fear out there.
Noticed it was getting dark. Yeah, there
No,
is
you're good.
so much fear
Yeah,
around it, but I think in the same breath, there's so much excitement about it, and I think well, I don't think, I am experiencing that more and more people are jumping into this, like, "Oh, that's really interesting, like, I wanna give that a try," and whereas before when I was growing up with this stuff, you don't talk about this. You sure as hell don't practice this or anything like that. But now it's just it's I don't want to say popular because I feel like that's not like we don't want it to get popular because then it just kind of turns into something that it shouldn't. But it's definitely becoming more known and more practiced by the right people, I think, which is the big thing. And that's really, really, really exciting. I'm super excited about this.
yeah, that's important to bring up too by the right people. Like to go back to that telepathy tape with the child talking about like you don't get these gifts if you lie. So like I really think your intentions have to be good to have these certain types of abilities. And I kind of feel like maybe that's why, you know, well, it's one of the biggest reasons I feel like disclosure hasn't happened is because they're going to have to disclose that we are capable of so much more than
Mm,
they've ever told us. And
yeah.
like we have all these abilities. I'm at the point where I feel like we create our reality. Like I've had so many crazy manifestation experiences in the last year that I'm at the point like there's no way I'm not just speaking this into existence.
Yep.
Like it's either the craziest coincidence or I somehow just like I want this and I have my intentions set in the right place and all of a sudden it's coming to me. Have you experienced like manifestations
All the
and
time.
stuff?
All the
Yeah.
time. Love it. Yep.
Nice.
It's
Um
amazing.
yeah. Um, is there any final messages that you would like to leave for anyone listening to the podcast?
Stay curious. I have always been a big believer in everything. Bigfoot, Nessie, aliens, ghosts, all of it. And I think because I've retained that childhood curiosity, it's allowed me to see a lot more. And I don't just see that with myself, I see that with a lot of people. The more curious you are, the more open you are, the more experiences that you're going to have. So get curious and get fun.
Yeah, definitely. That's something I actually say all the time. Like, experiencing the phenomenon brought me back to my childlike wonder and curiosity that I had lost through adulthood and working in the military and everything. And yeah, I just really want to share with everyone because it brought me to such a happier place. And yeah, just looking at the world now with unlimited potential and the possibility of us all unlocking these psychic abilities is like really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so. Have you
All
seen
right.
the Brown Mountain Lights in North Carolina?
I haven't. I've heard of them, but I haven't seen them.
They're super cool. You need to go see those if you're into the whole skylights thing.
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually going out to North Carolina in June. We're doing a family trip to go out, and we're going to South Carolina to visit some family, and then we're gonna road trip up through North Carolina and check it out because we've never been out there. So yeah,
do it. The Brown Mountain Lights, they're so much fun.
Nice. Yeah, and then I'll actually be back in North Carolina again to go to the Psy Games. Which, are you going to the Psy Games?
I'm going to try to, not as a participant, but I want to go and support all my new amazing friends that are going and participating. So I definitely hope to be there. When is it again?
It's July, I think, 31st through August 2nd, I believe.
Yeah, definitely try to be there for that.
Yeah, that'd be really cool if we can meet up and get to talk and yeah.
Yep.
But I want to thank you so much, Emma, for coming on the podcast. I had a great time talking with you. And yeah, thank you everyone for listening to today's episode, and I will see you all in the next one.
Thank you.